Hey, we're doing stand-up shows October 20th through the 23rd in Florida and Buffalo. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets. Did you hear about there's the latest push for Julian Assange? Have you heard about this, Max? There's a coalition of 25 press freedom, civil liberties, and international human rights groups are calling on the Department of Justice, that's Joe Biden's Department of Justice, to dismiss its dangerous case against Julian Assange. There's 25 different press freedom, civil liberties groups, and international human rights groups calling on Joe Biden's Justice Department to dismiss the dangerous case. I mean, civil liberties groups push Biden administration to drop case against Assange. The groups have previously asked Garland, that's Merrick Garland, to abandon the Assange case on the grounds that his prosecution for publishing classified documents would be a threat to First Amendment press freedoms. If press freedom groups all over the world keep saying this is an assault on press freedom, maybe, I don't know, we should maybe listen to them. But the group said in a new letter sent Monday that the alarming discussions within the CIA and the Trump White House about kidnapping the WikiLeaks founder and even discussed assassinating him gave their request new urgency. It's also alarming that the key witness against Assange admitted to lying about everything. The guy who was caught embezzling money from WikiLeaks was being an informant on Julian Assange to the FBI since 2014 and is also a convicted pedophile. That's the guy they were using to go after Julian Assange. It's almost like all of this is total BS and he should be freed immediately. Here's what Glenn Greenwald says. Groups which fight for civil liberties and press freedom, remember that? The thing everyone pretended to care about under Trump? They've been urging the Biden administration and the DOJ to drop the prosecution of Julian Assange and to do so in light of the new reporting that the CIA had plots to kidnap him and kill him. That's right. Here it is. Journalism is not a crime. War crimes are crimes. Drone whistleblower Daniel Hale imprisoned in communications management unit designed for terrorists. That's what we do to whistleblowers. So that's how you know that Facebook whistleblower was garbage. This is what we do to real whistleblowers. We imprison them like they're terrorists, and we try to have CIA plots to kill them. Just weeks before the U.S. government is appealing a decision to block extradition of Assange to the U.S. due to prison conditions, they decide to put whistleblower Daniel Hale in a CMU, essentially proving Assange's defense point. So they're saying that this is what they're going to do to Assange. That's why they didn't allow Assange to be extradited, because they said if he was, he would die because of the way the United States would treat him and his frail health. Well, look what they just did to Daniel Hale. They're proving that that's exactly what would happen to Julian Assange. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's envoy, Alex Saab, has been extradited to the United States. What? Max, tell me, how could this be?
How could it be? Alex Saab is being extradited to a country that he is not a citizen of, whose laws he has not broken. Why is this happening? He was kidnapped by U.S. agents in a third-party country, Cape Verde, as he was returning from a trip where he was inking business deals on behalf of the government, where he served as a diplomat to provide low-cost and free food and free housing to the Venezuelan people who are living under U.S. sanctions and siege. And that's why he was kidnapped, held incommunicado by U.S. agents, tortured, denied food and medical care at certain points, and contact with his own family as well as the media, and pressured into giving up details on how Venezuela evades sanctions in order to feed its people. So this is a case about the U.S. violating international law, kidnapping the citizen of another country in order to enforce what U.S. Secretary of State Tony Blinken calls the rules-based order, which is an order in which the U.S. makes the rules like a mob boss, and everyone else has to follow its orders. And so Alex Saab showed up in a Florida federal court today after being kidnapped, basically kidnapped on an airport tarmac as his flight stopped to refuel. He's now being put on trial in the U.S. for money laundering. There was never an Interpol red notice put out for Alex Saab. I mean, he's a literal hostage, a political prisoner in the United States. And the Swiss authorities, who investigated this money laundering charge, found that he was totally innocent. There was no money laundering. It's just a fake charge to justify kidnapping someone until he gives up details and sells out his government. And they're using him as leverage against Venezuela.
So here's what he did.
The Assange precedent. Julian Assange, not a U.S. citizen.
That's right. So this is exactly right. This is setting the precedent. Julian Assange, not a U.S. citizen. They want to bring him here and hold him for, I don't know what. He's not a citizen. So for Venezuela, this is what he actually did. This is why they want to kill him. This is why he's in a courtroom in America. This is why they kidnapped him. He's helped circumvent the financial sanctions that Donald Trump imposed on Venezuela in 2018. He's been a key facilitator of Venezuela's relationship with other countries that enable it to survive under the U.S. sanctions to get food and fuel, which has exposed him to increased judicial interest from the United States. The extradition of Venezuela diplomat Alex Saab is a clear signal the Biden administration has made no break with Trump's all-out assault on international law. Also, a worrying sign for the case of Julian Assange, another foreign citizen the U.S. has essentially kidnapped and held hostage. Saab was extradited from Cape Verde without proper notification given to his legal representatives or family members. His kidnapping comes just one day before Cape Verde's presidential election. So that's why this is important. That's why it's important to keep the pressure on about Julian Assange. And again, all these people who seem to care about norms and care about international law don't care about it at all. These people are all criminals. Joe Biden is a criminal. The people who just kidnapped that guy are criminals. The CIA is criminals. Your government is a criminal entity in the world. So this idea that somehow we're the good guys is ridiculous. Somehow Saudi Arabia is worse than us when they killed Khashoggi. No, we're doing the same thing. We're trying to kill Julian Assange, and now we're trying to kill this guy. And their crimes trying to fight back against an evil empire. That's their crimes. Anything you'd like to add to the end of this, Max?
Yeah, just a quick clarification. I said there was not an Interpol red notice, but what I meant was the red notice was issued after Saab's arrest, which just shows how fake it was.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, they're trying to what the U.S. regime wants to do is keep Assange silent for as long as possible without having to exterminate him, as was proposed under Pompeo's CIA, or ruling on his case. It would be incredible and shocking if he was actually extradited after this British judge Bareitzer ruled that he would certainly be tortured and likely commit suicide in a U.S. supermax prison. The U.S. would be taking that ruling and acknowledging that it does seek to kill Assange by inducing suicide or just driving him into physical and psychological destruction in one of these torture centers that pass for prisons that actually millions of Americans are currently in. And Alex Saab, well, this isn't just about destroying one man. It's about killing the Venezuelan people because they had a revolution, a constitutional revolution, and hundreds of thousands, we don't even know the actual total, but certainly hundreds of thousands have died as a result of U.S. sanctions, which have wrecked Venezuela's public health sector, made food difficult to obtain for many people by preventing the import of fuel. I mean, this is the crime that Alex Saab has been trying to prevent. And what Alex Saab was doing, besides providing the food that has prevented so many families from starving in Venezuela through its CLAP program, is also getting supplies for construction for a housing mission where 3 million Venezuelan families have been provided with free housing under U.S. sanctions. So this is someone we should be speaking up about as well and protesting for, and just considering the precedent that Assange's prosecution sets for so many people around the world who could just be kidnapped for violating the order that the U.S. seeks to impose.
Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone, ladies and gentlemen, has been our guest today. Thank you so much for making yourself available, and thanks for all the great work you do at the Gray Zone, which is not for sale.
Thanks for giving me the mic, Jimmy.
Okay. All right, Max. I'll talk to you soon. we're doing stand-up comedy in Florida, in West Palm Beach and Dania, and then we're going to Buffalo, Baltimore, Tempe, and Portland. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets.